Namaste. Shall we start with a prayer? Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So as we were, discussing last week before we got rudely interrupted by this unexpected technical problem, was the fact that Mandukya Upanishad is considered to be a difficult Upanishad to understand and to imbibe. And I think we went over the reasons for this. So let's complete the reasoning and then we will continue with the revision of the actual verses in a minute. So what I think we need to understand is that despite being our own reality, the truth about who we are, despite being who I am, it is difficult to understand. And it's a very strange thing, really speaking. How can I not really know who I am? But this is the Srishti, this is the creation of the Ishvara. It's a kind of like an interesting play within a play. So it's very interesting. This is when we start the Brahma Sutra, this discussion will become more formally taken up. But very briefly, just to underscore this point about the difficulty of understanding the reality of who I am, there are people who do not ascribe to Advaita Vedanta, who say, listen, the way you are treating this whole issue of understanding yourself and so on is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because you're saying that I am searching for myself. How can it be? So they give a very interesting dichotomy about this. They say, listen, if you know something, then you don't search for it. If you don't know something, you cannot search for it. This is the issue. So, this doesn't apply. The Advaita Vedanta doesn't apply. To which the brief answer is that it is not as though I don't know myself. it is not as though I know myself. It is I know myself partially but not fully. So I have some knowledge of myself, but not in a way which is accurate to what I am. Very much like when you mistake a rope for a snake, you know the dimensions of the snake to be exactly the same as the dimensions of the rope. The thickness, the undulations, the curvature, all of that you know. But you add something in addition to that which is false. So also for the knowledge of the Atma. Now, that being the case, to remove the extra doubts, the extraneous non-understanding from myself is not easy. Not easy. But then we are ignoring this fact. Why? It is because the removal of the ignorance on top of this, kind of like a cover, not easy to do. Despite the fact that we are assured by the Shruti being the most loving helper that we can find, despite that fact, we find it very difficult to do that. So this difficulty is likened to be finding a very subtle, if you want to call it object in this case, it is not an object, but a subtle object. Like, for instance, if you were to look for the fundamental particles that the science is looking for. And so I think you can easily see the table is that it is a table. But to see the constituents of the table gradually becoming all the way up to the very fundamental particles requires a lot of help, a lot of study, a lot of focus. It's as though you're looking into a microscope, and the microscope also has to be appropriate. Like, for example, the viruses are very difficult to find because they are much more subtle than other things. And so the instrument to look at viruses has to be very precise. And furthermore, even if the instruments are precise, the handling of the instruments, focusing it, is even more difficult and more precise. But despite all that, it doesn't mean that it is not there. You cannot give up halfway and say, I can't see it, so I don't think it is there. You cannot say that. It is there, but you are having some problems in making sure your entire approach, your entire methodology, the prakriya is not being properly used. So, coming back to Mandukya Upanishad, this is the prakriya which is difficult to appreciate. You know why? Because again, to understand that Brahman Asti, that there is a Paramartha Satyam which is underlying as the very basis of the whole world, is relatively easy to grasp. Not easy to grasp anyway, but relatively it is easier to grasp. Then the next step is even more difficult. And that step is this Paramartha Satyam, this Brahman, is not just Asti, it is Asmi. It is none other than me. This is this is the issue. Why? Because everybody says, me? Because you immediately stake yourself to be a mortal jiva. That's your and my understanding is that I am just a mortal jiva. And I know my history, and therefore I can predict the future, how long, not exactly, but life is slipping away. All those kinds of things you're covering up. And it's kind of like, you're having a dream. I think we have talked about this before also, that sometimes if a child is not well, has a fever or something, then the chances of the child's dream becoming a nightmare are more. Because the brain is not working very well, and projects all kinds of things and so on, as we will see in verse number 3, number 4 actually. So the child is sitting there, sleeping, and babbling, oh, save me, the tiger is allowed to do this. And the parents are right next to them, and they have their hand on the forehead of the child and saying, no, baby, it's okay, it's okay. And the baby is still crying, no, help me, help me. And so the parents have a kind of an inner smile, saying that babies, or a child is not a really baby, but an older child, 4 or 5 year old child, their thinking is false, unnecessary. But what can you do? While they are still sleeping, they're having this nightmare. Exactly the same situation is with us. I am totally convinced that I am just a mortal person, and I've got a lot of problems, and no matter what you tell me, I know my experiences, I know my bodily problems, I know my mental problems, and you cannot just wish it away by saying Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahman. All this doesn't really do anything. Because why doesn't it do anything? Because my mind is so totally involved with an understanding of who I am. My experiences do that. And so the Shruti has to say, I know. It's just like the parents saying, I know you're dreaming. It's okay. You'll wake up one day. I'll wait. Quickly wake up as soon as possible. Still in the middle of the night, you don't want to completely wake up the child because he has to have complete sleep. But there is an understanding on the part of the parents that this will be okay. This is exactly our situation. So therefore, the Mandukya Upanishad says, listen, please see that you are dreaming. And dreaming in the Prakriya of the Mandukya Upanishad means that any of your experiences, any experience in life, good or bad, while sleeping or being awake, any experiences that you have is false. Now this is hard to swallow because my whole life, in my estimation at the present moment, when I don't completely get it, is that experiences are my life. My description of who I am, what my life is, all about experiences. And yes, I can minimize bad experiences by karma, by acting out and being careful and prayers and the help of Ishvara and all those kinds of things, but this is all I have. How can you say that all my experiences are false? Then what is left? I have nothing left at all other than experiences. So the Shastra says, listen, this is not true. All of your experiences are anatma, not you. You are the turiya behind all the experiences. And what is this turiya? You! Me? Yes. Just stay with me and please grasp slowly how you do this. So the prakriya of Mandukya is considered to be most effective, but at the same time most difficult for all the reasons that we mentioned. And therefore this Upanishad is not studied. You can academically go through it and sort of say, okay, this is na antah pragyam, na mahash pragya, as we will see, and so on. So I also know this and so on. But the real understanding only comes when you have built a foundation of what is Atma, what is Anatma, what is Panchakosha Viveka, and all of that has to be done. What is Bimba, what is Pratibimba, what is the original, what is a copy, the Viveka between Drik and Drishya, all of those things have to be prepared as a foundation. And then, having prepared all that, what you are asked to do is to study the essence of all of this in the form of Mandukya. And stay with it until you completely grasp it. And because it is not easily graspable, therefore, Gaudapadacharya, who really has a very high position considered by the scholars of Vedanta, has written a unique text called the Karika. No other text in Vedanta is called Karika. It's not like 7 Karikas. No. At least in the case of translations and so on, they are all called Vyakhya. And out of them, the Shankara Vyakhya has a special place called Bhashya. There's only one type of a Vyakhya which is called Bhashya, and that is by Adi Shankara. This is how important Adi Shankara's position is. And a high position means that it is a very clear enunciation of the truth of us. That's what the high position means. And compared to that, Gaudapadacharya has even a higher position. Because he was the Parama Guru of Adi Shankara. He was the Adi Shankara's Govindacharya's Guru. And is considered to be the one that really brought back the essence of Vedanta in its mainstream. Because it was sort of just like you have a very beautiful thing which has grown because of disuse, some cobwebs and dirt and encrusted with things. But inside it is so pure and beautiful. He brought that up. He brought that up with the Karika. And so the difficulty of Mandukya was enunciated in the Karika. So our challenge really is, all we just gone through is just an introduction, including all the Karika verses and so on. But our challenge is to imbibe it. As I really like Swami Paramarthananda's example on this, that just eating is not enough. Digesting is the main thing. And so right now, if I may minimize what we have done so far, we are just eaten it. And I think we need to, and this is why the parents sometimes say to the children, your children are anxious to finish their meal and go play. And the mother and father says, slow down, because you're just eating too fast. You won't be able to digest it. Eat it slowly. And rest for a while. Don't just start getting into playing the sport right after eating. Same advice here. That I think what we should do in our life is to, this is an important really verse, very important one, Upanishad. I'm happy that we did it. We're coming to the close of it, but this is just a start. What we need to do is, as our understanding improves, our foundation becomes more clear, our antakarna shuddhi also becomes clear, then the same thing, when we imbibe it again and again, starts to be digested. That's our challenge. So now let us, 8:50, so as you know, because we had to cancel last week, so including today, we have 3 classes. So what I intend to do, I may change some plans, but we will do up to verse number 6 very quickly today as a revision, verse number 6 of the Upanishad. Then, and some of the Karika verses that have already started. Then next week we will take verse number 7, which is really the important verse. Because all the other verses are negation verses. Neti neti iti adeshaha, na iti na iti. The negation works very well. But then what is left is the reality which is given in verse number 7. So I will do that hopefully next week if things go well. And then the following week we will just do a very quick, you can't even call it a revision. This is almost like an extreme summary of all the Karika, so that you have some idea about it. And then we will conclude that on the 21st, and then we will take up a different text after that. We will talk about that. So with that, verse number 3. Verse number 3. Let's we'll do 3, 4, 5, and 6 today. So it says that everyone's experiences is one of 3 kinds. So the experiences as anatma, an identification of a set of experiences as not me, is one of 3 kinds. You know this already. So one is Jagrita Sthana. So he says Jagrita Sthana Bahish Pragya Saptangaha Ekona Vimshati Mukha Sthula Bhuk Vaishwanaraha Prathama Padaha. So Padavaha, here even in verse number 2 we saw Ayam Atma Chatushpad, that there are four aspects to the anatma. 4 aspects to the atma actually. 3 of them are anatma and 1 of them is left over as the atma, which is the truth about it, which is the 4th one. And so the first one is common to all of us. This is something beautiful to see, that really all beings, I am not sure at what stage of the Srishti the dreaming comes in. I sometimes think about it. I'm not sure. I've not seen any it's not that important, but just as a curiosity, do the birds and animals also dream? Okay, so you say yes, maybe they do dream. It's very possible that if you Google it, you can find this out. But then the question is, at what stage of the animal expression does this thing happen? So, for example, for a virus, which is a living being, there's probably no dreaming of the virus. Maybe there is, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going off track. All human beings, just imagine, this is the beauty of it, have to go through these three stages of experiences that are anatma. The first stage is the Jagrita Sthana. And in the Jagrita Sthana means the waking world. Some things are talking about, which is what is the nature of this experience. So it says Bahishpragya. Bahishpragya means that your experiences, thoughts, and your conduct of your life is extremely externally focused about things and situations, elections, who won, who lost. By the way, just before we were starting the class, I saw that I think Biden has won Pennsylvania, so now he has crossed it, so he's now become the president-elect. We've been waiting for it for so long. Just happened just before the class. I think you saw that too, probably. So all those experiences, who won, who lost, it's all externally oriented. You may not have had anything to do with it, but your experiences and estimation of your thoughts is managed by externality. Bahishpragya. Bahishpragya. So you get up in the morning and it all depends upon what is happening that day. What is the news? What is the situation with your health? What's the situation with your job? What's the situation with the virus? All external to you. You're just an observer. But as an observer, you are the experiencer of these experiences. And how do you experience it? Ekona vimshati mukha. 19 things. So the five organs of knowledge. Five parts of action. 5 prana, 15, plus the mental activities, which is manaha, buddhihi, chittam and ahankara. 19 altogether. And this is how we live. So for instance, you are driving. You're driving in some city street. Okay? So all of a sudden you see that the light on the intersection has turned red. So these are the 5 sense organs that, so there are eyes that see that the light has turned from green to red. So now what do? You actually put the brake on because you don't want to go through the red light, and especially if there are cars there and so on. So you now stop. So now the karma indriyas also come into play. And it's very possible sometimes that just seeing the light being green is not enough. Because now from the corner of your ears you see a siren of a police car or a fire truck coming in. So even if there is a green light, the ears are now active. That sense organ is active. Anyway, I don't want to go into all the details of that. All I'm saying is that through these 19 things that are given to all of us, we may be missing here and there because of some problem, but mostly it is 19 things that allow us to conduct our experiences with the external world. Also, another thing, so this is also a revision, but an important thing to see. So he says, Saptangaha ekona bahishpragyaha Saptangaha ekona vimshati mukhaha Saptangaha. So Saptangaha means that there are also considered to be the way of segmenting your experiences in 7 ways. Okay? And also another thing, there are 2 things involved in your external experiences. One is you as a waker called Vishwa, and the other one is what you are experiencing, which is called Vaishwanaraha. So the dream experience is a very beautiful example of this. When you're dreaming, there are 2 things involved, isn't it? You become a dreamer person. So you retain an identity as a dreamer. The other thing is everything that you are dreaming. What appears before you? Is it good? Is it bad? It is uncertain? Is it boring? Is it exciting? All of that occurs. And so that one is the experienced. And the experienced is the Vaishwanaraha. So similarly, in our waking also, what happens is that the reflection of myself splits into 2 parts. One part is me as a person. Who am I? How old am I? What's my situation? This is me. The other one is the world around you. And so this world around you also has a form. Just like you have a form. You have a head. You have the eyes. You have the internal fire that keeps you warm. You have the faculty of talking, and you have the faculty of acting with hands, legs, walking, all those kinds of things. So these are the various aspects of it. Same thing is true for the external things. We may not be able to see it until we really study it, but they are all there. This is called Vaishwanaraha. I was looking at this, I just happened to be reading this section in the Mandukya Upanishad. So in Mandukya Upanishad, the same thing is described, which is the constituents of Vaishwanaraha. So this is the external. So he says, Agnir Murdha Chakshushi Chandraha Suryau Dishaha Shotre Vak Vivritascha Vedaha Vayuhu Pranaha Hridayam Vishwamasya Padbhyam Prithavihi Esha Sarvabhutantaratma. So it says that really, so from an external standpoint, he says the fire that you experience is the head of Vaishwanaraha. And the sun and the moon are the eyes of Vaishwanaraha. And all the directions are the actions. because they direct you at different places. You can either go north, south, northwest, like this. Then Veda, what is written in the Vedas, is the Vani, is the speech. The external air is the prana of Vaishvanara. And the entire experiences are the heart of Vaishvanara. And the solid earth is the legs of Vaishvanara. Anyway, so this is given as a this is not just make believe. Vedas are saying it. It says this is the way it is. It's got a structure, just like you have a structure. So it's like somebody describing what is the constituents of a dream. Well, that's what it is. Anyway, so this is the Prathama Pada. This is the first. So in summary, our set of experiences that are characterized by waking have these constituents. And one interesting thing about this is that at the objective level, it is common to all of us. So of course, Vishwa is different, but Vaishvanaraha is common to all of us. So it's like all of us are dreaming together, if you may. And all experiences, many of the experiences, I won't say all, but most of the experiences are common to us. Now what we make out of that may be different, subjective, but otherwise there is an objectivity about it. And in the next verse, which is an internal experiences, the external thing doesn't work anymore. It has just given you a taste of what is happening in your life, but after that it recedes. And so verse number 4 is Swapna sthanaha antaf pragyaha Saptangaha. I won't have the time to really understand to explain Saptangaha. So those are basically the head, the eyes, the breath, etc. Those are called Saptangaha. Then again, Ekona Vimshati Mukhaha, 19. Ekona Vimshati means 19. Mukhaha. They have 5 distinct forms. Pravivikta Bhuktaha Taijasaha Dvitiya Padaha. And so now the externality is gone, but the same relative externality is still there. Relative externality, these are just my words, but what it means is you still have a dream world that you are experiencing, isn't it? So everybody has their own version of their own dream, which is not common to others. But other than that difference, the way you gain your experience, you have your experiences in your dream world are identical. It's just that it is antaf pragya. Your thoughts, your conclusions, your experiences, your sukha dukkha. Because dreams, we may not see it clearly enough until we investigate it. The dream also is karma phala. It is also the result of my previous, just like our external experiences are also the result of our previous karma. Whether we are having a good experience or a bad experience depends on what we have done up to that point. The dream is identical to that. So there is a lot of sukha dukkha in the dream also. Because in some ways, when I wake up personally, I am not at my best. Why? Because I'm at the mercy of my mental state as a result of dreaming during the night. During the day, I can control my thoughts and my experiences and manipulate things so that I'm okay. But in the morning, I wake up with a mind which is full of experiences during the night. And not all of them are very pleasant. They left some kind of a reaction in the mind. And in the beginning, when I started studying Vedanta, it used to bother me. But now I have, even though the experiences are still the same, I still wake up with all kinds of funny residues from the previous night, but there is an inner smile which says, this is interesting, this will also blow away. And within minutes, when I'm able to just start the day, have my cup of tea and then start studying, my mind becomes normal to what I'm used to. And so this is the antah prajna. Anyway, so this is the second. So this is the second set of experiences that are also anatma. So as though you're segmenting the types of anatma, types of the experiences that are not you. Because we've already said all experiences are not you. But there are certain types of it. One is the waking, not you. One is the dreaming, not you. Then we go to verse number 5. Yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate na kanchana swapnam pashyati tat sushuptam. Sushupta sthanaha eki bhutaha pragyana ghanaha eva anandamayaha hi anandabhuk cheto mukhaha pragyaha tritiya padaha. And in fact, number 6 should also be, because those two are connected. They are segmented into two. So let's chant number 6 also. Eshaha sarveshwaraha, esha sarvagyaha, eshaha antaryami, eshaha yonihi, sarvasya prabhavapya yauhi bhutanam. And this is the two verses that sketch out the third type of your experiences, which is deep sleep, when there is no dreaming. There is no dreaming, no waking. So here the important thing to see is that it's not as though all experiences have disappeared. Experiences are not eliminated in deep sleep. Then what? They go into their potential form. Potential form. So they are still there, but they are not sprouting. They are into the seed form. So this clearly shows. And also they go into the seed form to be sprouted again and again and again. So this is why the sleep is called laya. These are all technical words in Sanskritam that describe the exact nature of sleep. So for example, It is not called nasha. Sleep is not called nasha. Nasha means destruction. It's called laya. So laya means they have for the time being ceased to sprout up. They've gone into the seed state. What it means is they are going to sprout up again. The seed has not been burnt. The seed is only burnt when one understands that even sleep is Maya, which is my Shakti. I am different from sleep. I am different from dreaming. I am different from... So this is the Turiya. But until then, the seed has not been burnt. It is still potentially available for sprouting. And it's just that the sprouting creates Nama-rupa, names and forms. And names and forms are inviting likes and dislikes, inviting various types of experiences. Those become silent. And when they become silent, then what is your experience? There is a kind of an experience. And that experience is what is called sleep, which is what is called Anandamayaha. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, those of us that studied that, it is called Tenaisha Purnaha Sava Esha Purusha Visha Eva Anvayam Purusha Vidatam Tasya Priyameva Shiraha Modo Dakshinav Pakshaha Pramodo Uttarav Pakshaha Ananda Atma Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. So this is the sleep which is called Anandamaya. Why is it called Anandamaya? What does the word Mayaha mean? Why isn't it Ananda itself? Because it is still a reflection of Ananda. It is Pratibimba. It is not the Ananda which is Bimba. Bimba means the original, which is you. It is not you, it is close to you. It is very much like you. So what's the difference between you and the like you? Ignorance. Ignorance. So what that means is that the Anandamayaha, which is the experience in deep sleep, which is exactly as this verse number 5 says, Na kanchana kamam kamayate. There is no desires, because the desires are only for objects that have a nama rupa. There are no objects. So what desires can you have? Na kanchana swapnam pashyati. You're not imagining things like you are in a dream. And pashyati tat sushuptam. So therefore the Anandamayaha means you have an excellent taste of who you really are. Because if everything else ceases, if it goes into laya, then what is left should be understood. Because laya means it dissolves, temporarily dissolves. What does it dissolve into? It dissolves into Anandamaya. It doesn't dissolve yet into Ananda, into the Turiya. For that's an understanding of the difference between Bimba and Pratibimba, Drik and Drishya, Atma and Anatma, all those have to happen. It doesn't happen that But in the meantime, you get a good taste of what Anandamaya. So as we studied under this course, very brief course that we did on the fundamentals of happiness, if you remember that, I think that a study of sleep, really study of all three of these experiences, but especially of sleep, should convince you that your nature is Ananda. Because the only time when that conclusion is violated, if you may, not completely violated, but is disturbed, I would say, is when you have a distinct personality of a waker or a dreamer. When that distinct personality, this is what is called your own ahankara. When this ahankara is dissolved, you go back into Anandamaya. And this Anandamaya is also the nature of, so remember, so here's the thing, verse number 6, then we're done with this review today. So in the verse number 3 and 4, there were two things. One was Vishwa and Vaishwanaraha. So both the experiencer and the experienced. Similarly in verse number 5 also. So in number 4 also. So what is there in number 5? Are there two things? Well, the two things are, one is that your ahankara is dissolved. And so you cannot say there is a distinction between ahankara and outside. You cannot say that because the ahankara is not there. So what is dissolved into is the same as externality. There is no externality and internality. So, Eshaha Sarveshwaraha. And so this is the yoni. This is the Garbhasthanam. This is where it is all comes out from, which is the Maya Shakti. And this Maya Shakti is Pragyana Ghanaha, and it is Anandamaya. And so the externality is, there is only one basis for all experiences, which is the Maya Shakti. And so that alone is only left. And in that sense you can say that that Brahman, which is the very Bimba for all of us, plus the Maya Shakti, is the basis of Anandamaya. Anyway, I'm revising it, and it's very possible that it's not as clear until we go into the details of it, but that's the nature of the revision. I'm just sketching out the directions and so on. So that is number 6, which is, so now with the verse number 3 to 6, plus some of the Karika verses that are also there, we may not have time to do all of that. I may mention it next week. You are now done with the nature of experiences being anatma. Neti neti. That's done. So what is left now? Because you have different roles that you're playing, different experiences that you're having. So who is it that is playing the role? What is the actor? Right now it is like describing the 3 movies that we are playing. What is the plot? What is the nature of the story? Karma, karma phala, all those kinds of things. Sukha dukha. And some rest, which is sushupti. But then, who is it that is playing the different roles which doesn't change? That is given in the verse number 7, which we will take up next week. Na antah pragya na bahish pragya. So with that, our revision continues, and we have 2 more classes to go until we change texts. Om swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahisha go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samastha sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini desho yam kshobarahitah brahmana santu nirbhayah sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadah purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Very good. Very happy to see you all. So I'm going to send you information about the next text that we are going to be taking up, Brahma Sutra, and I'm preparing all the notes that I will require, some qualification rules also. So I will send that out in the next, probably within a week or so. So you have a chance to look at it, and if you want to enroll in it, please do. I think the enrollment process will be a little bit more personal and more formal. I want to make sure that you are fully committed to it. And there are some requirements that I have in staying with the course. So I will send that out. I was thinking I'm going to make a video of the Brahma Sutra class and post it on YouTube, and so that others can also see it and they can apply for it, and then I'll find out who is interested. So that class will begin on Saturday, December 5, and I will be sending you information about that. Okay, very good. See you later. Thank you. Hari Om.